Surprising Nuggets trade incoming. Report reveals major update. A defensive powerhouse joins the squad, but at what cost? Let's get into all that and more today on Nuggets Digest. Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Stuart Hicar, a basketball fan, Colorado native, and also just one of the most trustworthy men in all of amateur sports journalism. That sounds real, doesn't it? Speaking of something that's very real, did you know that only about 10% of you are actually subscribed to this channel, which means almost 90% of you are missing out on some of the best basketball analysis this side of the continental divide. If you like what we do here at Nuggets Digest, hit that subscribe and like button to stay up to date with all your favorite Mile High team news. All right, now that that is out of the way, we've got a lot to talk about today. A little bit about a potential new star joining the Nuggets, as well as a little bit about our absolute all-star GOAT, Nikola Jokić, potentially not returning to the team. Don't get too worried just yet. We'll get into all of that in the next couple of minutes. To start, though, we have to look at this headline. Two-way star pegged as ambitious trade target for Denver Nuggets. Now, what are we talking about here? Obviously, it's the offseason, so a lot of people are presenting different trade possibilities from different organizations, and this was one that hit the wire about 3 days ago, I think from Bleacher Report originally, but now there is a little bit more credence being put to it because of a second headline, and that is right here. Celtics looking to make major move early in NBA offseason. This is coming from Newsweek, and they are essentially reporting that the Celtics are looking to possibly blow it all up, which is crazy to say. Obviously, the Celtics made an incredible run 2 years ago to get the championship, and this year, you know, they definitely looked like the same team, if I'm not being, crazy. I think they were an unbelievable team, just so deep, and when they hit threes, they were unbeatable pretty much. And if it weren't for a major injury in the playoffs with Jason Tatum, I do think we'd be looking at a Thunder Celtics finals right now. Is that possible? Who knows? That's how injuries work. It changes everything. And the Celtics, I think, are really disappointed at the moment. They need to make some changes because of salary caps and the massive stars they have on the team, as well as some possible changes with Porzingis leaving the team and Al Horford maybe retiring. There's a lot going on in Boston right now, and that means that other teams might be able to take advantage of that fire sale. Now, who are we talking about specifically adding to the Nuggets? This guy right here, Derrick White, 3-and-D masterpiece. This guy is a two-way player, the definition of a two-way player, really. He really helped them win that championship in the 2024 season. I think his defense, his lockdown defense on guards is really, really impressive. And he's got a lot of reach, so he can make it difficult for wing shooters. Plus, he's got some solid three-point shooting himself, which can drag guys out to the line, spread out the floor, and potentially really help guys like Nikola Jokić and Jamal Murray find the right pass to these outlets or to get into the middle and work that game. Now, here's the thing with Derrick White. I also think it means that we're going to have to give up quite a bit if we want that piece. I think a lot of teams understand the value of this guy, so it's not someone we're just going to be able to pick up in a steal, and it's not like he's ring hunting either. He has no interest in taking a pay cut just to get a championship. He's got a ring on his finger. He's got no worries whatsoever. So what would we end up losing to get this guy on our team? Well, it would actually be another 3-and-D player, a rising star who a lot of Nuggets fans really like, young Christian Braun. That's right, young Christian Braun, the Jayhawk Supreme himself. We would likely have to lose him from the team, as well as Michael Porter Jr., and there would be a third team that would have to become involved in this trade, because obviously the Celtics aren't looking to bring on another large contract like MPJ, but it would help with some other picks getting involved to make the switch all kind of come together. And those details are broken down in the actual Bleacher Report article from earlier. But I'm bummed to hear that kind of news. Obviously, Christian Braun has to be on the trade block. He's a young player with a lot of years ahead of him who has been steadily getting better, which is exactly the kind of trade draft that you want to, or trade piece that you want to be showing off to the entire world. He's worth a lot, and he could be worth even more in the future. But obviously, the Nuggets need to make some moves right now, and if it means losing someone young who's potentially very, very good for our team in the next couple of years versus someone who is an absolute piece in Derrick White, a championship piece, a guy who's been there, feels confident about it, and again, can just bring so much more attention off of some other stars on the court. I think it's a potentially a pretty solid trade. But let's look at some quotes from a few different sources about that exact swap. So this is from Grant Hughes via Bleacher Report. Derrick White is among the most defensive guards in the league and is the kind of three-point shooter whom opponents get yanked off the floor for leaving open. His value as a spacer is far greater than Brown's, and his superiority as a playmaker, 4.8 assists per game last year, would give the Nuggets never-before-seen levels of offensive savvy and dynamism. Dynamism, great word, one of my faves. And I agree with him. Those assists are definitely not something we're seeing from Braun regularly, although, who knows, that could be something he adds to his game in the future. But having another guy on the floor for everyone to worry about, and again, spread out the line with AG's new shooting, it could really add something special to our opening or our starting lineup. Again, we would lose Michael Porter Jr. also potentially in this trade, which would mean we need to add some more depth to the bench. And, you know, you're always dealing with a different problem when it comes to finding new players and trying to fix holes in the offseason. There's always going to be something you're giving up to get something, and that's just how the gamble goes. But with that noted, I mean, let's just look at some of Derrick White's stats. Essentially, averaging about 16, 5, and 5 in your average game, including a block and a steal here and there. I really do think this is a guy who could really help us out. On corner threes, he's pretty much knocked down. I really like this guy as a shooter, and I really like his hustle. If you remember those playoffs, Derrick White was like unstoppable. That dude was just everywhere. I think he got his tooth knocked out just playing hard as hell with defense. And Denver definitely needs some defensive help. Jokic is a star, but let's not all pretend that he's a lockdown defender until it comes to the last 2 minutes of a playoff game. And then he's unstoppable. But normally we maybe need somebody who's on the floor who can, you know, take a hit, give a hit, feel really strong, and give a bit more of a, I guess, dynamic play style on the defensive side of things. It's just a piece we are absolutely missing. But do we know if Derrick White has any interest in joining the Nuggets? Is that something that he'd be excited about or potentially on board with? Well, here's a quote from last year when they faced the Nuggets in the playoffs. This is him speaking on Nikola Jokić. His touch is unreal. Every time he gets the ball in that little 8-foot area, it's 2 points for them. And you gotta respect a guy who gives it up for the man himself, Nikola Jokić. But now that we're on the subject of the GOAT Jokic, we do need to talk about his contract issues, which are also sort of bubbling and broiling with the Nuggets right now. Nikola Jokić has two options in front of him. Essentially, he can re-sign with the Nuggets for a 3-year extension at about $212 million, or he can decline that extension, possibly get a larger contract with the Nuggets, but it would essentially mean he's on the market for other teams to make deals with. Now, is it possible that Jokic does that secondary path, doesn't sign, and tries to get more out of a 5-year contract with the Nuggets? I mean, maybe. He's definitely worth those things. He's the best player in the league, so obviously he kind of gets to name the rates when it comes to hiring him. But I also think we all know Jokic as a no-frills, no-drama basketball player, a guy who does not like to have media involved in decisions, a guy who doesn't like to stir the pot, a guy who likes to put in the work to show the results. And that's why I personally believe he will be signing that extension very, very soon for the $212 million 3-year deal. That'll bring him to, I believe, the age of about 33, at which point, you know, we'll probably end up signing him for the rest of his career. At least that would be my hope. I'd love to see the guy retire as a Nugget. It's what he deserves. It's what we deserve. We'd all love to see that. Is it possible that he declines and goes for a larger contract and then gets bought out and heads to another city? Yes, but like, come on. I just don't think that's who Jokic is. I genuinely think he would much rather have a solid lifestyle for his family and kids without any drama, even if it meant a small pay cut with the Nuggets. And remember, this is $212 million for 3 years. So when I say pay cut, you know, I wouldn't mind pay that way, but you know, I'm not a star basketball player either. I'm not Nikola Jokic. But until he re-signs that extension, we are sort of on this bubble right now where, you know, a lot of people think the reason he didn't sign immediately is to give the Nuggets a little bit of fire under their butts in terms of finding new guys in the free agency, letting them know, hey, just so you know, I'm the best player in the league. I could leave if I want to. I don't want to. Don't make me. And so hopefully ownership will listen to that, the Cronkies will listen to that, and whoever our new GM will listen to that, and we'll be able to pick up some guys like Derrick White and who knows, some other veteran contracts out there looking for a ring just to add some depth to our bench. At least that's my dream and that's my hope, and those are my takes, but what do you think? Do you agree with my very good takes, or do you think I should have my teeth knocked out like Derrick White? Either way, join the community down in the comments below and let me know your opinions. My name is Stuart Hicar, and this has been another perfect video, just a 10 out of 10, 0 mistakes throughout the entire thing. Perfection is rare, and yet I do it every single time. Until next time, go Nugs.